What if the secret to a long, happy, and, well, truly fulfilling life wasn't some magic pill or, a massive retirement fund, but actually a deep sense of purpose? Something found right in your everyday life. Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that idea, exploring the fascinating world of Ikigai. We'll be drawing insights mainly from the brilliant book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesc Morales. And our mission really is to unpack this Japanese concept for you, look at its different sides, and hopefully maybe shed some light on your own path to a more meaningful and maybe even longer life. So let's start with the word itself, Ikigai. The book gives a simple translation, but it feels like there's a lot more going on underneath, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, on the surface, Ikigai can translate to something like the happiness of always being busy, or maybe the reason we get up in the morning. Think of it as your personal raison d'etre. The Japanese characters themselves are quite revealing. You've got Iki for life and Gai, which means to be worthwhile. But Gai goes deeper. It suggests value, initiative, finding elegance in what you do. The book really stresses that your Ikigai isn't just lying around waiting to be found. It's hidden deep inside, and it takes some patient searching to really uncover it.
That's interesting. And what really struck me is something the authors highlight is this cultural difference. Like, there's no actual word in Japanese for retiree in the way we think of it. Stopping work completely. People just keep doing what they love, staying active for as long as they possibly can. How does that continuous engagement, that sort of lack of a finish line, shape their whole approach to purpose
Mhm.
and, well, their health?
It's a really crucial point. This philosophy of staying engaged throughout life seems directly linked to the amazing longevity you see in Japan, particularly on the island of Okinawa. I mean, the numbers are staggering. On Okinawa, there are over 24 people aged 100 or more for every 100,000 people. That's way above the global average. And the authors strongly suggest that this deep sense of purpose, this active living out of their ikigai, is a really key factor in why these communities live such incredibly long and vibrant lives.
Right. That incredible longevity in Okinawa brings us to something else the book discusses, this idea of blue zones. Can you tell us a bit about what those are and why Okinawa is such a prime example?
Sure. So the blue zones are basically 5 specific areas around the world where people tend to live significantly longer and healthier lives than average. Okinawa in Japan is kind of the poster child, but the others are Sardinia in Italy, Loma Linda in California, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Ikaria in Greece. What's really fascinating is that even though they're geographically diverse, they share some really powerful common principles for longevity. Things like a healthy diet, mostly plant-based, constant low-intensity movement, gardening, walking, not necessarily hitting the gym hard, finding a clear purpose, which is exactly where Ikigai comes in. Plus, incredibly strong social connections, good stress management, and generally low consumption of things like processed foods and alcohol. It's a whole package deal, really.
And that point about social ties, the Okinawans have this concept called moai that sounds like it's really central to their community fabric.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Okay.
Moai are these informal groups, people with shared interests, who basically commit to supporting each other for life. Members contribute a set amount each month, and the money is used for group activities, or, importantly, to help out a member who's facing hardship. So it provides both emotional support and a kind of financial safety net. This deep feeling of belonging, of knowing people have your back, gives this incredible sense of security and helps increase life expectancy. It really shows how connected social well-being and physical health are.
Okay, so purpose and community are huge factors. Let's zoom in a bit now on the more tangible day-to-day habits that contribute to this long life. Starting with how they eat. There's this phrase, hara hachibu.
Right. Hara hachibu. It's an old Japanese saying, often said before or after meals. It basically means fill your belly to 80%.
Hmm.
It's a really powerful idea. Stop eating when you're starting to feel full, not when you're completely stuffed. The thinking behind it is that overeating just puts extra strain on your body, accelerates wear and tear on a cellular level. In practice, it might mean smaller portions, or maybe using lots of small plates, which kind of tricks your brain into thinking you've eaten more. It's about leaving just a little bit of room, essentially.
Yeah.
And if you look at the wider Okinawa diet, it's incredibly diverse. The centenarians there eat a huge variety of food, something like 18 different types daily on average. Very plant-heavy, lots of vegetables, potatoes, legumes, soy. They really eat the rainbow, you could say. White rice and noodles are common staples, but they eat very little sugar, mostly cane sugar when they do, and significantly less salt than the rest of Japan. Their overall calorie intake is also lower, which is a common thread in all the blue zones, and seems to reduce certain proteins linked to aging. The Okinawan diet is also packed with natural antioxidants, things like tofu, miso, tuna, carrots, goya or bitter melon, kombu seaweed, and a real standout is shikawasa. It's a local citrus fruit, very acidic, but it's loaded with this compound called nobiletin, like 40 times more than oranges. It's known for having amazing protective qualities for overall health and aging well. And beverage-wise, their favorite is danpincha, which is a mix of green tea and jasmine. Okinawans drink maybe 3 cups a day. It's linked to lower cholesterol, a stronger immune system, even stress relief. And of course, green tea, and particularly white tea, are seen as some of the world's most powerful natural antioxidants.
So, moderation and variety in diet are key. But it's not just what they eat, it's also how they move, right? What did you notice about their physical activity?
Yeah, that's fascinating too, because it's really not about intense workouts or gym sessions. When the authors visited Ogimi, this village of longevity, they saw people in their 80s and 90s who were just always coming and going. They're walking, they're gardening, doing karaoke, playing gate ball, a type of croquet. It's not strenuous, but they're consistently active. They integrate gentle movement into their daily lives almost constantly. It's kind of the opposite of our modern sedentary lives. There's that insight that our metabolism slows down by 90% after just 30 minutes of sitting. Just getting up for 5 minutes helps get things going again. Things like radio taiso, that Japanese morning warm-up done in groups, focusing on dynamic stretches and joint mobility. Simple stuff like raising your arms over your head. Or think about Tai Chi, the Chinese martial art that evolved into this practice for health and inner peace, with its slow, flowing movements. And then there's Qigong, which translates to life force work. It uses physical postures, breathing techniques, and mental focus to cultivate and balance your ki, or vital energy. The benefits range from brain function and hormone balance to bone density and heart health.
Yeah.
These practices just weave movement into life naturally. It proves you don't really need a gym to stay healthy and vital.
Okay, so we've got the physical side, mindful eating, constant gentle movement. But Ikigai is also deeply connected to your state of mind, isn't it? Especially this concept called flow. Can you explain what that is?
Right, flow. It's a term popularized by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He called it the optimal experience. It's essentially the pleasure, delight, creativity, and process when we are completely immersed in life. When you're in a state of flow, you're completely absorbed in a task, you're not distracted, your mind feels in order. It's that feeling where time just seems to melt away, your sense of self kind of dissolves, and you're just in the activity.
And the book suggests some ways to actually get into that state. First, pick a task that's difficult, but crucially not too difficult. Finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. It's like walking a tightrope. If the task is too easy, you get bored. If it's way too hard, you get anxious and probably quit. Flow happens in that channel right between boredom and anxiety. You need a challenge that stretches your skills just enough, like maybe learning a new piece of software or trying to nail a tricky dance move. That's where you find it.
Okay, and the second strategy is about having a clear objective, but maybe not getting too hung up on a rigid plan, more like having a compass than a map.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, drawing on Joy Ito's idea.
Oh.
In a world that's constantly changing, having a clear direction, a compass, is often better than a fixed map. So setting a clearer goal for your session like, I'll write 500 words, or I'll practice this scale until I can play it smoothly, gives you that direction. But then once you start, the key is to immerse yourself in the process, not obsess over the final destination, like Einstein said, right? A happy man is too satisfied with the present to dwell on the future. Focus on the doing.
And the third one. This feels like the big one for many of us today. Concentrating on just one single task.
Uh-huh. This is a huge hurdle. We often think we're great multitaskers, but the science shows we're really not. Our brains don't actually do things in parallel. They just switch focus really quickly between tasks. And that switching costs energy, it leads to mistakes, and it actually tanks productivity. Studies show it can reduce efficiency by 60% or more. It's much, much better to give your full attention to one thing.
So to fight back against all those constant distractions, what are some practical things listeners can try to cultivate that focus?
Well, there's some simple but effective habits. Maybe try having no screens for the first hour and the last hour of your day. That's a big one. Turn off notifications on your phone, or at least limit them severely. You could try techniques like the Pomodoro technique. Work intensely for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. Create rituals around your focus time. And if you can, set up a dedicated workspace that's free from distractions. It's really about training your attention span. You see this deep focus embodied perfectly in Japan by the Takumis, the master artisans. These are people who dedicate their entire lives to perfecting a single craft. showing incredible focus and perseverance, what they call gambaru. Think of Gio Ono, the sushi chef from Jiro Dreams of Sushi. He's been making sushi for over 80 years. He and his son are just completely absorbed. Their Ikigai found in striving for the perfect piece of sushi. Or Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli, still working passionately into his later years, hand-drawing everything, famously saying, "Please, just let me work." These are people utterly lost in their Ikigai, often needing solitude to protect that flow state. But it's not just for geniuses. There's also this idea of microflow, which is finding that same sense of enjoyment and purpose in everyday, even mundane tasks. It's about adding a layer of intention or ritual to simple things. Bill Gates apparently washes the dishes every night because he finds it relaxing, a way to clear his head. Richard Feynman, the physicist, talked about finding pleasure in painting office walls. This brings us to the idea of rituals over goals. Instead of just focusing on the big endpoint, find value in the consistent daily practices themselves. Cultivating these small rituals helps bring you into flow more often, turning chores into moments of microflow.
So, the invitation for you, our listener, is to think about that. What activities pull you into that state of flow? What really gives you that deep sense of satisfaction? Identifying those things can be a powerful clue to finding your own ikigai. And to kind of wrap this all up, let's hear directly from the people living this long, purposeful life. When the authors visited Ogimi, that village of longevity, they didn't just find old people. They found incredible vitality, constant celebrations, games, and this really strong community spirit, Yuimaro.
Yeah, and the wisdom they shared is often beautifully simple. A lot of the centenarians gave advice like, don't worry and keep your heart young, don't let it grow old. Open your heart to people with a nice smile. They really emphasize good habits, getting up early, tending their gardens. One woman explicitly said, I plant my own vegetables and cook them myself. That's my ikigai. They talk about keeping fingers busy to keep the mind sharp, eating lots of different foods, and importantly, continuing to work or be active. Because, as one said, if you don't work, your body breaks down. Friendships are huge, too. Getting together with my friends is my most important ikigai. They meet up daily just to chat, drink tea, maybe sing together. They also live life at a slower pace. You hear things like, slow down, relax. It's about living peacefully and enjoying the little things. And there's this amazing optimism. They say, laugh. Laughter is the most important thing. One woman at 98 said, I consider myself young. I still have so much to do. Ultimately, many echoed the sentiment. There's no secret to it. The trick is just to live.
Wow, that spirit really comes through in that declaration from the town where people live longest statue they have in Ogimi. It says something like, at 80, I am still a child. When I come to see you at 90, send me away to wait until I'm 100. The older, the stronger. It just drives home that purpose means living actively, right to the end.
Exactly. So the keys to the Ogimi lifestyle, if you boil it down, seem to be everyone has a vegetable garden, strong neighborhood groups that act like family, lots of celebrations, a clear but relaxed sense of ikigai, pride in their traditions, passion in whatever they do, and that strong spirit of Yumaro teamwork, helping each other out. They're always busy, but generally with relaxing, enjoyable tasks. You just don't see elderly people sitting around doing nothing. And this isn't unique just to Ogimi. You see similar threads in the wisdom of other supercentenarians and long-lived artists. Misao Okawa, who lived to 117, kept it simple. Eat and sleep, and you'll live a long time. You have to learn to relax. The artist Hokusai, famous for the Great Wave, felt his best work was still ahead of him, even late in life, hoping that by 1 in 10, every line he drew would be instinct with life. And Ellsworth Kelly, the painter who worked into his 90s, said, every day I'm continuing to see new things. That's why there are new paintings. That drive never stops.
So, bringing it all back, what's the core message here for you, our listener, trying to navigate your own life and find meaning?
I think the main thing is that Ikigai isn't some grand prize you find and then you're done. It's much more of a dynamic, personal journey. It's about discovering yourself through doing, through engaging with the world around you. It's finding that sweet spot where your passions and skills meet what the world needs, maybe what you can get paid for, but crucially, what brings you genuine joy and a sense of purpose each day. It's ongoing.
So, we really encourage you to take some time and reflect. What are those activities that make you lose track of time? Where do you find that deep satisfaction, that flow? And how can you start weaving more of those moments, those microflows, and maybe stronger community ties into your own daily routine?
Yeah, because, in a world that's often chasing quick fixes and external validation, the wisdom of Ikigai and these centenarians offers something really profound. It suggests that the deepest happiness, and maybe even the longest life, doesn't come from what you have. It comes from the joy and purpose you find in what you do, day in and day out. Maybe the real secret to longevity is simply to never retire from learning, creating, connecting, finding your reason for being right into your 100th year and maybe even beyond.